Good morning, everybody. My name is Neil Bedford, and I'm going to take you through a presentation of the KC Smart Stock System. Now, as it stands at the moment, the demonstration is a muted demonstration where I will work my way through the demonstration, walk through, take you through the product and its features. And what will happen at the end is then what we'll do is, if there are any specific questions and so on that people have got, if you would then like to contact either myself or the sales representatives you worked with, they will be able to take you through any specific questions and queries that we've got. So first of all, I'll just start off by giving you a quick highlight of the points I'm going to cover, starting off with an actual physical demonstration of the product itself. I'll take you through and show you the features and functions that it's got that are happening within the software. I'll then discuss the roadmap for Smart Stock, the items that we've got already scheduled to go into the next releases. So first of all then, what I'll do is I'll start off and I'll take us through a physical demonstration of the product itself. So, okay, as you can see here, this is the Smart Stock application client. The first things to talk about is the integration with Smart Stock and the accounts packages. So whether that be Sage 50, Sage 200, Opera 2, Opera 3, Exchequer, Access Dimensions, or our own back office accounts, Smart Stock has a full and seamless integration with those accounts packages. It's a full system that runs based on Windows services in the background, being multi-threaded and allowing multiple people, multiple devices to work with the Smart Stock system simultaneously and having live communication with the accounts package where applicable. The Smart Stock system works based on a device-based system, so it is Windows PC or Windows tablet devices, and we can set the system up so that we can have either a single or multiple devices split across multiple branches, giving the flexibility to be able to have those devices either at fixed locations or to be able to spread them around, move them between different branches, locations, and use them as and where we actually need to. So looking into the actual software itself, what we actually have got in terms of functionality, starting off with within the Smart Stock system, Smart Stock has its own messaging system, and this messaging system is a system that's built into Smart Stock, so there's no need for any additional Outlooks or other email clients. It's a system that it uses internally, and what it actually does is it allows users to communicate with each other, but also to be able to communicate with devices. So within the Smart Stock messaging system, we're actually able to create messages, and we can send these messages either to a single user or to multiple users, or we can send messages to a single device or to multiple devices. And when we send it to a device, for instance, then what's actually happening is it's irrespective of the user that is logged in on that device will get the message and display that message. If we send the message to a specific user, then whichever device that user is logged onto or next logs onto, they will receive the message at that device. So it gives us the flexibility to be able to send messages either to a specific device or to a specific user, irrespective of what device they're actually working with. The Smart Stock system is also designed, as I mentioned earlier, to work on a tablet-based system. So as we're going around either a warehouse or a yard or a shop, and we wanted to work with the system to be able to do a variety of the functions, we can work with a tablet-based system. That tablet doesn't have to have a physical connected keyboard. It can just literally be a touchscreen tablet. The Smart Stock system is designed to be able to work with full on-screen keyboards so that we can work totally irrespective of a keyboard being connected to the device, or it can work obviously in a standard mode where there is a keyboard connected to the device and working with it. So I'll start off looking at the physical software itself and the physical functionality that exists within there. And I'll start by doing a process from the beginning, if you like. So what we'll do is we'll start off by raising a purchase order, doing goods receive, adjusting our stock around our locations, being able to deal with then stock takes, creating sales orders, and then sales order picking. And then finally, we'll have a look at the control center and some stock inquiry functionality that exists. So we'll start off by looking at purchase orders. And with the purchase orders, it's a very simple and straightforward process that we can do within the Smart Stock system. What it allows us to do is to go in and we can add a purchase order. From within here, we can give it a date, a location that we want to raise the products or the order against. We can then pick a supplier. The suppliers and the locations and everything are all automatically synchronized from our accounts packages and pulled them across. We can search by name, address, postcode, etc. So we can pick who we want to work with. We can give it a reference if we want to, and a comment. From then on, we can now find our products that we want to work with. Now, with the product search, we're able to either work with finding a product by part of its description. So we could type in part of its description or part of its product code, and it will go off and it will give us a list of ones that actually match. From a quantity perspective, we can now either just enter a quantity that we want to work with from the keyboard. We could press the plus or minus buttons to go up or down, or we can go straight to the keyboard entry and we can just literally type in our quantity that we want to work with from there. With the stock item search as well, it's obviously also able to work based on barcodes. Now I've got a barcode scanner in my hand. I'm just going to scan an item now. That will find that product and it will give me the ability to be able to then give the quantity, find another product, how many I want of that. So it's very easy for me to walk around the shop, around the warehouse, anywhere, build up a list of products that I wish to actually raise a purchase order for and put onto the system. Now, when I close that purchase order down, that's not committed that as a purchase order as yet. That still exists within Smart Stock only. It's not actually been created over in the accounts. You'll see as we go through and look at Smart Stock, there is a lot of common functionality throughout all the different features. And one of those features is the ability to either pass for authorization or authorize directly to accounts. So the system can be set up so that certain users can go in and create purchase orders, but they may not have the permissions to then be able to actually physically create that as a purchase order, commit it to the accounts, create an email and send it off to the supplier. What may want to happen is somebody walk around, create the purchase order, they pass it for authorization, another user then picks that purchase order up, looks at it, they do have permissions to authorize it, they will then authorize that to accounts, commit it, and away it goes. So with that, we can just straight away either authorize to accounts if we have permissions, or we can pass for somebody else to. So it's a very easy, very straightforward process for us to be able to do and pass straight out from within the system. We can go back in, we can edit that purchase order, we can view, we can see the details that exist within it very easily. Our next stage within the process will be goods inwards, and this will be one of the key areas that people are using generally a system like Smart Stock to be able to handle their stock management. So when a lorry, a van, goods turn up to be able to be booked in, we can go to the goods receive option. From within here, we can go in, we can either scan or type in the purchase order number that we're looking for. That will now go off and it will live communicate with the accounts package. It will check what's on that purchase order. It will display those lines there for us, show us what's on there. Any lines that are already fully committed, it will highlight in green and it will show us our outstanding quantities. Now from this point, again, I can use my barcode scanner and enter the delivery note number. I can now literally scan my item. It will find it in the list I'm going to book 3 of those in. I can scan my item, 5 of those, scan it in. Scan my item, 3 of those. Very easy, very straightforward. We can also, if we can see that everything that we're looking for is on there, we can just literally hit the receipt tool, which will go down all of the items, all of the outstanding quantities, and it will mark those as being received within the system. So from there, again, with that goods inwards, we can now either pass that for authorization, so we can pass that up to somebody else to be able to physically authorize to accounts, maybe a warehouse manager, maybe somebody in the actual main office, or if we are the person that's in charge of goods inwards and booking them into the accounts package, we can go straight to it. We can authorize to accounts, we can post that, that will then book those goods straight in, now straight into our accounts package. They're booked in, reduce the purchase order, and everything's all been updated live within the system. So it's a very, very straightforward, very easy process. Goods inwards also has the functionality to be able to do goods inwards where you don't have a physical purchase order. You haven't created a purchase order, but you've got a load of goods that are turned up that you want to book in. You're now in a position where you can actually just go straight in. If you've got a reference, you can give it. You can now scan the items that you want to book in, quantities, away you go. Commit that or authorize that to accounts, and that will book that directly into the stock system, again live, or it can be passed for authorization to somebody else. Again, a very smooth, very easy process to actually go through and be able to do. We've now got our goods and they've been received into stock and we're working with them. Now we can look at functions that are available to be able to move that stock around our locations, branches, within our warehouses, etc. And within Smart Stock, we now have functionality for adjustment capture. So adjustment capture allows us to be able to capture an adjustment, give it a reference, give it a comment, and now we can either scan or find our items as we did before to physically be able to say, right, this item I'm doing an adjustment out of stock or inwards, and again it just shows us whether or not it's a increase or reduction on the quantity, how many of those are being booked in and out, and we can build up that list of our adjustments that we're doing. Some companies that we work with will build up a list per branch per week. They will then pass that for authorization for somebody to authorize and commit those off. Different companies work in different ways. You can have multiple adjustments on the go at the same time. It's up to you how you would set it up, but this allows a very easy way to be able to adjust in and out stock where it's been dropped, written off, found because you couldn't, in the last stock check you didn't see where it was, etc. That's a very easy process to be able to do. Also, functionality exists within Smart Stock for direct location transfers. This allows us to be able to do an instant transfer between one location and another. So I can say, right, I want to do a transfer from our head office into my current store that I'm looking at. We can have a look. I can then again, as we did before, scan those items very quick, very easy, and away we go. So we can build up that list that's going to happen and we're going to transfer. Now, a direct location transfer, when that is authorized to accounts, will happen immediately. So it will do a direct, or it will do a location transfer within the accounts package as soon as you do the authorize. So we move it out of one location straight into the other straight away. There are instances where customers require and have multiple branches, and those branches require replenishment. So a physical branch will look through its stock, see what it's short of, and it will ask head office for a replenishment of those stock items. Smart Stock has the ability to be able to do that with its replenishment requests. And with this, we can go in and we will create a new request. And again, we'll make a request from a location against another. So it doesn't have to be a request against the head office. It can be a request against another branch or another location. And we will then request the items that we want to work with. How many do we want? We can then literally work through them and build up our request that we wish to. When we're happy with that request, what we will then do is we'll now pass that for authorization. This will in effect pass that back up so that the branch that it's been sent to can now see that request, and that request can then be processed from that perspective. So within here, we can now look at an in-transit dispatch, and we can see our request that I've just created here. Shows me the lines that I've just created. Now, what we're actually about to do is we've just created from a branch level a request. Head office is now going to take those goods and it is going to dispatch those goods, but it's going to dispatch them into an in-transit mode. And what it's going to do is it's going to transfer the stock items that we're going to dispatch into another location within the stock system. That location has been set up as a in-transit or a van stock or whatever we wish to call it, so that basically the stock is going to move out of our head office into our van stock and go onto an in-transit document. That lorry van will then travel and go to our branch. When the branch receives the goods, there is then another function which we'll go to in a moment, which allows those goods then to be booked in against that in-transit dispatch. So again, we've got a three-stage process that allows us to request it, head office send it. When the goods arrive, we can then receipt them into our stock. And when we receipt them into the branch stock, that takes them out of the in-transit stage and moves them into the actual branch's stock itself. So with this, I'm going to create a dispatch against it. And I'm going to, I can go on each line, I can scan and say what I've dispatched and the quantities. I can also dispatch all, which will go down and it will mark all of those and dispatch them. And I'm then going to authorize that to be done. What that will do is that will now do that physical stock movement. It will create and move those quantities out of my main location and put them into my in-transit stock. It will also now give us the option to be able to print, email or export a document that can go with those goods as an in-transit document itself. So the goods now go on the lorry and off they go to site. When they get to site the other end, they will have the ability to be able to do an in-transit receipt. They will have their document or be able to see their document in terms of their dispatch number. They can then go in and add a receipt against that. They can again now, they can either go through and scan each of the items and the quantities, or they can do a receipt all. If a full quantity isn't receipted, then the item can be left outstanding as still being waiting to be delivered or still being waiting to be dispatched from a head office level. So it allows multiple dispatches and multiple receipts within the branches and to the in-transit stages. So again, a very easy process, but allows you to be able to see the stock that has been or is currently on an in-transit mode. So from a stock valuation perspective, etc., you can see as an overall company, you still own it. But from a head office perspective, you can see that it's no longer in head office, it's in an in-transit stage, and then ultimately it'll go into a branch stage. So it's very smooth and easy to use from that respect. Going to go on now to looking at physical stock taking and being able to do a stock count, physical walk round, etc. The first thing I wanted to discuss is bin locations. Most of the accounts packages that we deal with have some form of bin locations, whether that be a single bin per warehouse or whether or not it be full multi-bin location within Sage 200 and Exchequer. Either of those systems, the Smart Stock system will work with and be able to use, whether it be a single bin or multi-bin. But what you're able to do within Smart Stock is be able to define your route sequencing. So you may have your bins all labelled up. But from a sales order stock, or from a stock take or a sales order picking perspective, the alphabetical route of your bins may not be the best sequence to actually walk around the warehouse to be able to do that. So within here, we're able to define per location a sequence that goes with each of those different bins. So even though from an alphabetical perspective they would be listed A to Z, we can actually move them around, change them in whatever sequence we wish to work with. So then when we go to the picking screen or the stock counting screen, those screens will be displayed in this sequence, allowing and making life easier for those processes to work in a smooth happening process. So if we have a look at our stock taking functionality, within here we can go in and we can add a new stock take, and we can have as many stock takes on the go as we wish. Some companies will do one stock take once a year. Some companies will do one a quarter. Some will do perpetual inventory, where they'll do a certain range or a certain aisle or a certain bin location or set bin locations per week to be able to roll the stock taking round. Within the smart stock system, you can create as many on the go as you wish. So if I was to create my August stock take, we then have the ability to be able to do a time frame. Now the time frame is either immediate, i.e. I'm going to do the stock take now, and it will literally go off and get the figures from the accounts package in terms of the in-stock quantities exactly now, or we can do it scheduled. So we can say, right, I'm going to schedule this, and this one's going to be done at the end of August. I'm going to schedule another one for the end of September. And you can put them into the system ready, and the system within the control panel will then show you those stock takes that you need to start whenever their dates become physically due. We can also then do the type. Now the type can be either specified, random, or highest unit cost. A specified stock count is where we can specify the bin locations, the category ranges, the stock ranges. So we're actually telling it exactly what we want to do the ranges by. A random is for the software to actually physically do a random pick, and we can do that based on a percentage or a number of items. So we can say, right, I want to do a stock take, random, 25% of my stock. So if I've got 2,000 stock items, it's going to generate me 500 random items out of that list to be able to stock count. And again, if I did a number of items, then it would just literally be, right, I now want to pick 25 at random out of my whole stock for me to be able to stock count. So from a perpetual inventory and from a spot check perspective, this is a great one to use once a week, once a month, to be able to pick a certain number of items and be able to do. The highest unit cost works in the same way. So we can say, right, I want to take my highest 25, the cost price, highest 25 items, and be able to stock check them. So again, we just want to run this on a periodic basis to be able to see and work with those items. Visibility, is it seen or is it blind? A seen stock count is when the stock count is sent to a physical device for the person to go off and do the counting. They will be shown the stock items they need to count. The seen stock take shows the physical quantity that the computer system believes is already in stock. A blind stock take doesn't. It just shows you the items to count, and you then physically need to count and type in the quantities that's there. So I can do a scene. We can then do it by a location. We can then do it by bin location. So I'm just going to physically pick all items that have got a bin and not that have got a blank bin. Specify ranges. We can set a required date. We can set some notes that we can pass down to the people doing the physical counting if we wish. So I'm going to create this stock take now, and what that'll do is, because it's an immediate one, it's going to instantly go off, talk to the accounts package, build the quantities that are in stock for that stock item, and now it sits here waiting for us. If I scroll across, this will show us that there's 15 items in the count, none accounted, 15 unaccounted, and we can also see a variance of quantity and value. The variance values throughout the system are user permission based, so you can allow certain users to see the values, other users you can't, so it's all controlled within the security permissions. What I'll now do is I'm now going to assign this stock take to a device or to multiple devices. So within the stock take system, what we're allowed to do now is to be able to take this stock take and push it out to either one or multiple devices for them to be able to go off and do that physical stock take. So I'm going to send this off to my goods receipt one, and what we should see now is in the background I have another device that's physically running. Within a few seconds of that device receiving it, you'll see that it gets a message to tell me there's an August stock take that's been assigned to it. And I can open that message up and it shows me on that device that it's there. So within the device under the stock counts list, it's now here for us to be able to do the stock counting. So I can double click on that item or that stock take. It now takes me into that list for that stock take and I can do the stock take. It shows me I've got 15 items to count and the top screen shows me the items that I've already counted. Because this was a seen stock count, I can see the quantities that are in stock, and the system is also showing me the bins and the aisles that these items should be in as far as it's concerned for doing the physical stock counting. So with that now, I can now physically count my stock items, how many have I got in stock, literally walk around, do them, and away I go. Very easy to do. I can come out of that screen, I can go off, I can do other items, I can create a purchase order, whatever it may be I want to do, come back to that screen, carry on, and so on from there. Back on my actual main screen, what we'll now see is that the actual main stock take screen itself tells me that this has been started because it knows that somebody has started scanning from a device perspective, so that's all up and running from there. I'm going to now complete this stock take from my perspective. I'm going to say I've finished my counting and I've done the items that I need to count. So I can mark that as being complete from this device. It has now gone. If I now go back to my main stock take screen and refresh it, it now tells me that all devices have completed. So they've all done their counting, they've completed, passed it back. If there was 2 devices I'd sent it to and one just sent it back and completed, this would actually show on there that it's completed some devices, not all of them. So from within there now, I can go to that stock take. If I double click on it, it will take me into that physical stock take and show me the stock take. It will show me those 15 items. It will show me the quantities that we've counted. It will highlight them in red where they're different to the snapshot counters that we did. From within this grid, we can just literally go up and down and we can type in quantities that we want to put in if we need to. We can also go into a scan mode where we can literally use the barcode scanner, scan the item, type the quantity, scan the item, type the quantity, and it will update the grid accordingly. We can, subject to security permissions, show stock values. So we can actually scroll and we can look and we can see the variance in terms of the value that we're looking at. So we can see there that we've got some significant differences that are going on with those. We can sort the grid, we can filter it to be able to see, right, I want to see everything that's not counted, and it just shows you those, everything that is counted, etc. What we can also do is we can also filter the individual columns. So what we could actually do is we can say, right, I want to do anything that is less than minus £100 or greater than £100. So anything that is outside of £100 barrier, show me in this grid so I can see. We may have a process in-house that says, right, anything that is outside of £100 difference, we need to investigate and see what's going on. So within this stock take screen, we also now have the ability to be able to do a recount. So with a recount, we can go in and we can create a recount. And now we can go to items and we can either multi-select, select all of them. We can just take the whole grid and really select as many or as few items as we wish from that grid. If I went back to the full grid, I can literally pick, mix and match the items of what I want to recount. And with a recount, when we tell it to create that recount, what the system will do is it will create a brand new stock take just purely for those items that we can then assign to a device. It may be to a different device this time. It may be that this time we want to do it as blind, not seen, and allow that now to be done as a brand new stock take. What the system will also do is those items that we have marked as being on a recount will be excluded from this stock take. So the differences that exist within that stock take for those items won't get posted through to the accounts package because they have been moved in effect onto a recount to be dealt with within another stock take. Once we're happy with our quantities that we're working with, we can literally go straight in and we can authorize to accounts if we've got permission to do so, which will look down at the list that we've got, and where there are any differences within those stock items, it will take those differences and it will post those as adjustments through into the accounts package. So again, a very smooth and very easy process and to be able to work with and work through. If your accounts package that you're working with handles and deals with batch and serial tracking, then the smart stock system will also work with that. So on items which are batch and serial tracked, when you scan the item, it will then pop up and it will ask for the batch number or the serial number, depending on what type it is, or the batch, the serial, and the multi-bin location. The system will handle whichever levels you've got set up within your accounts package for it to be able to work with and use. If we take a look at another function that exists within Smart Stock for sales order creation. So sales order creation is very similar to the purchase order creation, but this time we're doing it for customers. So we can go into the system, we can go in, we can do a bin, pick a location that we want to work with, we can then pick our customer. Again, these are automatically synchronized from the accounts, search by name, address, etc. And we can go through, we can scan our items that we want to work with or find, and we can go through and again build our sales order. So we could walk around with a tablet device, scan items with a customer, they're happy with those, we can then either pass authorization or we can instantly authorize that to accounts. Now, one thing I did meant to actually cover earlier, which I forgot to cover, was at any of the points throughout the system that we're using, whenever we're on the actual stock item screen, and as long as you've got security permissions to do so, you're in a position where you're able to scan a barcode from an item, but if that barcode doesn't exist, the system then allows us the ability to automatically associate that barcode with a stock item live into the accounts package. So for instance, if we're doing a goods inwards and a manufacturer has sent us a new barcode, but for a product that we've already got, we can take that barcode, we can scan it, it'll say it doesn't exist, we can then associate that with a stock item, and that will automatically and instantly make that barcode available and update the accounts package with that barcode. Okay, sales order picking. So we've got our sales orders that exist in our accounts package, and again, it doesn't matter how those sales orders have got into our accounts package, whether that's been manually entered into the accounts, whether they've come from an e-commerce import into our accounts package, whether they've come from sales orders created in Smart Stock. Smart Stock will see all of the sales orders that exist within the accounts package, and we can then do a picking selection. The picking selection allows us to be able to look at customer ranges, order dates, due dates of what we've got, and from there it will then give us a list of what sales orders exist on our system for us to be able to process and work with. I'm just going to free up some of mine to make it so that we can see a better picture. So from within here, it will show us all of our sales orders that we've got that have now come available. These sales orders we can view the details, etc. If the accounts package that you work with has priorities, i.e. Opera and Sage 200, then again, the ranges screen on the front will show you the priority ranges. And on this screen, it will also show us the priorities and sort by those priorities as the first instance. We can then take these sales orders, either one at a time or multiple, and we can assign them to a physical device to be picked. So we can send them to physical device, we can assign them to a device, we'll send that off. That will physically go off to that device to be picked. So if I was to send those 2 sales orders off to my other device, away they go. I now go to my other device. We should then get a message to indicate to us that we've got 2 sales orders that need picking. We can then go into our sales order picking on this device, and on this device we'll get those orders that we've got sent through. I've got another one already here waiting, and at this point I can either choose to just pick one sales order, or if I'm in an environment where I will walk around and pick multiple sales orders and put them into baskets or trays accordingly, we can do exactly that scenario with this here. So we can select multiple orders, we can commence picking. It will now show us those items that we're after picking in the bin location sequence for each of the sales orders, and we can now scan, pick, and we'll go around the whole process in terms of working with them. So we can very easily pick the items that we want to work with and work with them. When I'm done, I can complete that picking, which will in effect go back to my main screen. And my main screen now on my picking processing will actually be set up, will display those items that are in there. And from there I can now take these sales orders and I can say, right, either individually or all together, I want to progress them to delivery notes. So we've gone off, we've done the picking, we've found what we want to get, we've put them, we've boxed them. The progress to delivery will now physically in the accounts package convert those orders to deliveries for the quantities that we've picked and taken out of stock. And again, if we're got batch, serial or multi-bin, each of those elements will be prompted for at the time of doing the physical picking so that we actually get those associated details come through. Okay, so from a overall picture perspective, Smart Stock has what it classes as its control center. And the control center allows us to be able to see 4 different elements that exist within the system. Firstly, our stock counts which are due or overdue. So when we created our stock counts, we were able to schedule stock counts, and any stock take that is scheduled but not yet started, that is overdue or due today, will be shown in this list. So we could just literally go straight to it, go to the stock take, start that stock take, and away we go. We're using that stock take instantly. So we can have multiple in here ready to start, and off we go. We can see a list of our outstanding purchase orders that exist within our accounts package, and we can double click on one of those or any of those and it will show us the details that exist within them. And these are shown by default in due date order. So again, we should be able to see what orders are due to come in either today or tomorrow, etc. We then have a list of our outstanding sales orders. These are a list of our all sales orders that exist on our system that are still outstanding, sorted by due date. And again, we can double click on one of those and it'll take us in, show us the details. The overdue sales orders is a list of all sales orders where their due date is either today or older than today. So again, all orders that we should in effect be processing and need to be processing through the system. And again, we can drill in and view and look at those details. From a stock inquiry perspective, we can go in, we can scan an item or we can pick an item and we can have a look at available stock. And again, this will now go off live, talk to the accounts package, and it will read from the accounts package the live figures for each of the locations, the in stocks, the quantities, sales orders, etc. We can also have a look at the transactional history. And the transactional history allows us to be able to see everything that's happened on that stock item, its type of movement, when it's happened, the supplier it's come from. By default, it will show us the last 30 days. We can change that to 90, last 12 months, or we can say, right, I want to list everything from all time. So it'll literally go back right to the beginning of time when the stock items transactions exist within the accounts, and it will show us those transactions. So you're able to do stock inquiries and get information regarding purchase orders, sales orders, etc., all from within the Smart Stock system. You don't need to go into the physical accounts package to be able to look at those, deal with those at all. From a Smart Stock perspective, obviously I mentioned right at the beginning that Smart Stock works on a tablet-based system as well, so we can use that walking around our warehouse, our shop, etc. In a normal environment, that would be working under a Wi-Fi mode, so that when it's got communication and so on to Wi-Fi, away it would go. However, Smart Stock can also work in an offline mode. So Smart Stock on the local tablet device itself has a copy of all of the stock items, the customers, the suppliers, the locations, etc. So that if a stock take is sent to a device, and that device then walks off into the warehouse, but it loses Wi-Fi, that's fine. It's not a problem. The device can still do that stock take. It can still scan the items, put in the quantities. When it comes back into Wi-Fi range, it will then automatically synchronize with the main system and pass that set of scanned data back. Again, the device can be used for going out on the road, seeing a customer, taking a sales order, getting the details you want. When you come back into Wi-Fi range, that will automatically then be pushed into the accounts package. So it's a very, very robust system in terms of in and outside of connectivity, and allows you to be able to work with the devices in and outside of Wi-Fi range, to be able to keep those functions working and being used at all times. From a Smart Stock perspective, that is an overview of the key functions that exist within Smart Stock itself. What I'm just going to do is to nip back and to actually show you, we talked obviously earlier regarding the roadmap. I just wanted to let everybody know some of the new functions that we're on with development and planning for the future for Smart Stock. Starting with dispatch management. Dispatch management is to allow us to be able to handle better control when we're working with, for instance, people working with their own vans and their own fleet. So somebody physically has a tablet with them, they'll go out, they'll deliver the goods to the customer will sign the tablet, a signature is then taken, it's kept and it's passed back through to the Smart Stock system as a record of exactly what's gone on, who signed for it, date, time, etc. Courier integration, we are going to be integrating with a courier provider. That courier provider then integrates with all of the popular couriers that exist. So from a customer's perspective, whether they be with Royal Mail, Yodel, whoever, they will be able to still work with us with this integration, because it will still use their standard courier that they're working with. But this will allow us to, from within Smart Stock, to be able to, after we've done our convert to delivery, to be able to pass that information to couriers for them to come, collect the goods, have all the details on there, etc. Finally, stock reorder integration. Smart Stock will have its own stock reordering section, and the stock reordering section will be a module, if you like, within the system, or a section within there which allows the system to suggest what products you order based on minimum stock, maximum stocks, reorder levels, reorder quantities. It will also take into account, or have the option to take into account, historical trends. So you could say, right, I want to take the last 8 weeks worth of sales and I want to trend them going forward for the next 8 weeks, and let's see what stock we've got in, or what position that would put it in to be able to then order new stock. We could also be able to say, well, actually what I want to do is I want to take stock this time last year, plus or minus a percentage, and be able to overlay that over my data and say, right, okay, then for the next X number of weeks, taking last year's figures into account, what do you suggest I buy to fulfill that requirement. This won't automatically just create purchase orders for you, but what it will do is it will suggest you a list of what it suggests and tell you why it suggests it. You then can go down, review that list. Once you're happy with that list, you can then commit that and say, yep, I want you to create those purchase orders, email them to the suppliers, etc. From there. So that's just some of the functions that we've got going into Smart Stock. There is also some others regarding barcode printing. So you'll be able to print barcodes, shelf edge labels, those sorts of things from within the Smart Stock system very easily. So you'll be able to scan, print, that sort of thing from within there. And there's a variety of other functions that we're currently looking at to go in the system. So I'd just like to say thank you very much for everyone's time. What I would say is if you've got any specific questions, queries and so on that's going on regarding the Smart Stock system, then by all means get in touch with myself, get in touch with your sales representative that spoke to you regarding the demonstration, and we'll be more than happy to either talk through the stuff with you, show you some more of the product in detail, whatever it may be that you need. But once again, thank you very much for your time, and I hope to speak to you again soon. Thank you very much.